Yes, Urbanist is 9 years old. Welcome everyone to the official Urbanist Day Q&A here on Urbanist. I've been running this channel for 9 years at this point. Yep, I'm a veteran when it comes to making content online. I've been making content even longer than that. I started in Tumblr 15 years ago. So let me know what you would love to learn about what I do, how I do it, where I do it, why do I do it. Ask me anything about my work, about Urbanist in the first 20 minutes, and then I'll open up the floor that you can ask me anything you would like. I'm Ariel, and this is UrbanistAriel. It used to be formerly known as Urbanist Live and Urbanist Exploring Cities, but I changed my branding back in March and made it officially UrbanistAriel across all the platforms. So if you're tuning in right now, I am on YouTube, Facebook. This is where I mostly live stream. I also live stream on Twitch. But beyond that, I am on TikTok and Instagram and also on LinkedIn. So I've been very lucky to have success across all these platforms. And why is Urbanist Day on September 7th? Well, that's when I started making videos on Urbanist, first on the Facebook page. And that was back in September 7th, 2016. So I'm very, very happy to have been sharing the stories of New York, Rome, Paris, Maine, Lincoln, Nebraska, Milan, Croatia, Greece, Poland, and the list goes on. And I hope to show you many more interesting places. Now, usually when it comes to Urbanist Day, I'm out and about. Today's a little bit of a meh day here in my home city of New York. It's a bit cloudy. It was just raining, so I was hoping to be in the park sitting down, but the parks are going to be really wet because there were intense thunderstorms. Also, I was doing work today. Work to bring you some really interesting New York City videos that are coming out within the next 2 weeks, but also work in showing you a location outside of North America and outside of Europe. Yep, everyone, I'm branching out. I'm not going to tell you where I'm going or when. It'll be wintertime. But it'll be not in those two continents. It'll be the first time I'm covering a place outside those two continents. Because if you see my show for the past 9 years, I've covered extensively Europe. Extensively. Even more so than I've covered North America. But even North America, I've covered quite a bit. So let me know, how are you today? And feel free to ask me anything. And in order to celebrate, I opened up this bottle just right now of Spanish wine. I got this when I last visited Seville, and it's called Paso de das Brujas. It's written, I think, in Catalan, but this means Passage of the Witches. Ooh, interesting. But I bought this duty-free in the airport, and I opened it up today in order to celebrate with all of you. Got a frozen bottle over here, a frozen glass of wine. I'm like really happy. I'm really happy that I've been so lucky to do what I love. You know, I quit my 9-to-5 job nine years ago at this point. Urbanist is 9 years old. 9 years ago, just a few months before starting Urbanist, I quit my 9-to-5 job at risk because I had no savings, I had no plan. I just knew that I wanted to share stories that bring people joy, that bring people curiosity, that bring people wonder. And I just took a leap of faith. And I knew also that I wanted to figure out a way that I can travel for a living, that I can be outside, out and about for a living. And so I took that risk when I quit my 9-to-5, and this was June of 2016. I started another page, which shall remain nameless, but some of you know what it is. There was an issue with that page, and then in September 7th, I officially started Urbanist. So cheers to being outside and exploring. Not a day goes by that I take for granted my ability to be outside. Ironically, I'm not outside today, but generally I am outside, and I don't take it for granted. I'm very grateful that I have the ability to walk long distances and to explore and be able-bodied to see all these different sites, and sometimes go to places that might not be interesting enough and I have to go to another place, but to explore. I don't take it for granted, and that's why I am adamant in sharing these stories with so many people, because not everyone has that ability to be out and about. And it's a pleasure to be able to bring a piece of the world elsewhere to you. Hello, Daryl. Hello, Susie. Susie says, am I going to Russia? No, Russia is not on my list. But I am going outside of Europe/North America later in winter. Benoit says, tired of walking in New York City like you used to every Wednesday and Saturday? Yes, I'm tired of walking in New York City in terms of live video. I kind of took a step back from live video back in March officially. It's been a long time coming. Live video, I love it, but it is time consuming, and I realize now that I'm entering my late 30s, it is a young man's game. Live streaming is something that requires a lot of time, a lot of social energy, a lot of going into random places that I don't know, trying a lot of things on camera, food, coffee, drinks, and just being out and about, and it's something that I felt like I did the best I could for many years. And I'll continue doing the odd live video. Every time I cover a new destination, you'll see at least one live video from that destination. But I felt like I did my very best those years that I was live. And I was live very regularly for about 6-7 years out of the 9 years, maybe a little bit longer actually, closer to 7 years I was regularly live. And it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of time, and the platforms of YouTube and Facebook weren't promoting live video, especially live video that tends to be a little bit more educational, a little bit more cultural, like I tend to make my live videos. It wasn't promoting that, so there was not much opportunity either. So with all the time being spent, not much opportunity, and it requiring a lot of energy, social energy, to do these live videos on a regular basis, I decided to move away from it and share my gifts, my skills with short form video and with documentaries, which can reach a much larger amount of people. And I've been able to work with some wonderful companies and brands as well. So that combination has been wonderful to redirect what I do best in a different format. Your lives are always something to look forward to, says Cindy. Oh, thank you so much, Cindy. I appreciate that. So if you don't know, if you're watching and you're wondering, what are you talking about live video? September 7th, 2016, I did my first live video on Urbanist. And that was a walk through Hell's Kitchen, a tour of Hell's Kitchen in New York City. And then I just kept doing live videos very regularly, almost daily for quite a while. And I showed live videos in every corner of New York, but also a lot of corners of Europe, including up a 12,700 foot mountain in the beautiful vistas of Santorini, the temples of Greece, and the waterways of Venice. I've shown some epic views. Almo said you had a huge uplift with shorts in subscribers. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So with live video alone, I amassed about 90,000 subscribers. That's between Facebook and YouTube together. Twitch is pretty much not a big addition to my viewers. So about 90,000. Short videos got me to 1.9 million. So it's a big difference. Joseph says, have you done anything in Puerto Rico? Yes, I've been in Puerto Rico. I've covered Puerto Rico officially 3 times. 3 times. There's maybe 7 or 8 live videos, and they're really good. Those live videos are tours of different areas of Puerto Rico. San Germán, Ponce, Old San Juan, El Viejo San Juan, and also El Yunque. I have tours on live video, and I also have a lot of short videos that talk about the same history. So search Puerto Rico Urbanist, and it'll pop up on YouTube. Wow, we're getting so many comments. All right, I love this. All right, let me scroll all the way back because hello Benoit, hello Neboul, which I had the pleasure of doing a live video with in the south of France. It was so amazing in Saint-Tropez. Cindy has been tuning in before I even started Urbanist. So for context, I started doing live video for Curbed, which was part of Vox Media. And that's where I really got the joy of making videos online. Vox Media, long story short, did not want me on camera. They didn't think I was quite an expert to be on camera. I disagreed. I thought I was doing a kick-ass job. They were all wonderful people, but I disagreed. And that's why I went on my own. I started a different page, but there were some legal issues with that page. And then later I started Urbanist. So Cindy has been tuning in since the beginning. Also Susie and also Kay and Dolores. And there's a few other people out there that were tuning in since my very first live video on camera, which was a tour of the Brooklyn Bridge with one of my coworkers at Curbed. And I remember Cindy saying hello on that live video. So it's kind of crazy that some of you guys, and awesome that some of you guys have been tuning in since the very beginning. So thank you so much. Am I a channel owned by other companies? No, I am completely independent. I work with other companies as sponsors or as partnerships. Sponsors are like one-offs, you know. Sometimes you might see me promote like an eSIM, or I might see me promote a museum like the Museum of Moving Image. But I also have partners, which I've been working with for already quite some time, like New York City Tourism. I've been making videos with them, for them, for a very long time already, 3 years at this point. And you'll see that pop up on YouTube, on Instagram. Instagram is the easiest place you can watch those videos. I've worked with Bulova. Bulova, those videos are popping up on their page on TikTok. And now I have a wonderful sponsor with Lufthansa, which is most likely, I'm sending in the email this week, but most likely is going to be the people, the airliner that's going to get me finally to a place that is not North America and not Europe, somewhere else. I'm very excited. That set needs a shelf with your Peabody on it. Yes, I won a Peabody award for my series about the history of race in New York City, featuring my friend Khalil Green, and we won together, and it was awesome. It was back last year, 2024, and Peabody's is award for excellence in storytelling, and the category we won in was immersive storytelling. And we are literally the first Instagrammers / short form video content creators, YouTube short creator / TikToker, to win that award, which I did not think I would win a major award, a prestigious award, for my short form content. I always thought it would be like with a documentary, or with like a movie I end up making, not with short videos. For people who might not know, the Peabodys are basically the Pulitzer, but for video / audio media. And this blew me away. Can you show us your Peabody Award? It sucks because they only give one physical award for each production that wins the award. So like if a podcast, they're like the Peabodys usually award podcasts and they award documentaries for their other categories, and there's only one physical award that you can get, and usually that goes to the producer, to the director, to the main star, the host of the podcast. Khalil was very prominent in these 6 videos that we won the award for. So because of that, we end up deciding that he would take the award. So he has the physical award. I do not. I wish I did. It's very nice. I hope he's treating it nicely. I'm sure he is. Thank you so much, Mika, for the cheers. Cindy says, I remember seeing a video you did before Urbanist and you had been in Central Park walking out. And I asked if you could pan the camera up one of the skyscrapers, and you did. You opened up a new whole world with your enthusiasm. Aw, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Did you enjoy your time in Nebraska? Asked Anthony. I really did. And I kind of want to go back. I loved it. I am blown away that Lincoln, Nebraska randomly reached out to me to cover it when I joked about it for so long. And it was just an immense pleasure to go for 2 days. The PR company that invited me over, all expenses paid to Lincoln, Nebraska, is going to show me another American city very soon. And it's going to surprise a lot of people because it's not on top of the radar for most people, like Lincoln, Nebraska. And that is very exciting. That'll also be coming out in winter. You can always get a copy of the award made. I can. Also, technically, Peabody sold very expensively another award. It was like thousands of dollars. I just did not want to spend that money. I'll win another one. Don't worry. I'm not in this to win awards. I'm not in this for the recognition. That is a beautiful plus. It's nice that people recognize me for my work. But I'm in this to just keep telling great stories. But I know that by the act of telling great stories, generally it gains recognition, and that's awesome as well. So I'm really honored that the Peabody Awards recognize my work. Where do you get your shirts from? This is a company called Cardo with the K. K-A-R-D-O, and I bought it in Bloomingdale's. It's now one of my new favorite companies. My other shirts tend to be from Todd Snyder. I buy a lot from, I used to wear a lot of shirts from Bonobos. And what's another company I use? And I love the shirts I bought in Portugal from a company called Otherwise. And you see me wearing those as well. Susan, another person who's been watching from almost the very beginning, says, I was watching you in 2015 as a virtual youngin. Kay says, you're making us feel old. Hey, I'm so sorry. I feel old. You know, I started this when I was 28 years old. I felt like I was like way younger back then. So yeah, it's been quite a while. Elisa says, how do you send stars? I think there might be a button for stars, but I'm not sure if it's still working for live video. Doreen says, I think I can speak for everyone else. We miss your videos. It brought a bunch of strangers together. Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, as all things in life, things do come to an end. So yeah, it was nice when the live videos were on. But fret not, I will still do the occasional live video when I go to a new destination. Like I did in Lincoln. You'll be seeing a few more destinations this fall and winter. Thoughts on Cold Spring, says Stefan. I loved it. I managed to do one video on Cold Spring, but it was mostly romantic trip with my girlfriend. And we loved it. We went up hiking. We ended up going out to eat. And it was a lovely, lovely time. How often do you stumble onto celebrities in New York City? I see them ever so often. I can't tell you a number, but generally every year there's a couple. I forgot the last one I saw, but for example, I got to meet Darren Criss at the Peabody Awards, which was cool. He was a fan of my work, which was awesome. And then here in New York City, I forgot. You know, there's a lot of people on live video. It's happened to like 2 or 3 times. There was an actress called Sienna Miller, I think it was. Maggie Gyllenhaal apparently was in one of my live videos. I end up seeing Sarah Jessica Parker also in one of my live videos. She follows me on Instagram, which is cool. Maybe we could bribe you to do a walking one in New York City during the Christmas season. I do usually do one during Christmas time, so stay tuned, yeah. There'll be one soon, don't worry. You got me back to live streaming when we met, says Nibul. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Let's see what other questions are there. Deb, thank you so much for the €3 super chat. I appreciate that. Someone asked, what book am I reading right now? If I were to tell you, it will reveal a very special location I'm covering very soon. The short videos will blow you away. So stay tuned. Wendy says you saw George Clooney at Central Park. I did, yes. That was the last celebrity. I actually filmed it very briefly. That was the last celebrity that I saw. Cindy says, I remember you trying to get tickets to Hamilton. Did you ever go? I actually was gifted a ticket to Hamilton, the musical, by my dear viewer, long-time hardcore urbanist and wonderful friend, Kay Morrow, who's tuning in right now. And she was so kind enough to gift me a ticket to Hamilton. The ticket was, I think, for March 19th, 2020. I was already gearing up and hyped to go. But then March 13th, around there, 2020, there was a little thing called the pandemic. And by March 15th, 16th or something like that, everything closed. By March 17th, Broadway closed. And I couldn't go to see Hamilton. I think Kay got a refund, but I never got to see Hamilton. And not yet, still to this day, have not seen Hamilton. I do want to go. I have a feeling it's going to happen soon. Donald, nice to see you here. Hello, Doreen. I hope you get to visit East Asia soon. Someone asked about Japan. Japan, I still have no set plans for. I hope to go soon. I've been saying that for years. But yeah, no plans as of yet. Susie says, saw Hamilton on Broadway about 2 years ago. It was amazing. Oh, I'm jealous. Oh, I'm glad you got to see it. What do you think about Erewhon coming to New York City? I tried Erewhon in Los Angeles. It's a notoriously expensive supermarket. I think Erewhon is a gimmick. It was very nice looking supermarket. I think it's a gimmick. So I'm not too excited, nor do I really care that they're moving in here. Lufthansa probably goes everywhere in the world, so this list can be long, says Nubul. Yeah, Lufthansa probably will be my official travel partner for quite a while. They are so gracious to offer flights anytime I want. And so more trips to come via Lufthansa. Marianne says, I remember watching you with Corey Fry in Paris, who goes by a French fry in Paris, and then you've been following ever since. Yeah, that was amazing. I really love Paris. I can't wait to go back to Paris. I want to cover Paris again. And I just, it was awesome meeting Corey. I'm not sure, I haven't kept up with his work. Let me know, what is he doing nowadays? I hope he continue making great videos. He's a very talented tour guide for sure, and he knows how to do a video very well. So I hope he kept making videos. Mike says, long-time viewer, first-time commenter, not a question. Just wanted to say your videos make me so happy. I don't get to travel much, so thank you for everything you do to keep me entertained. Your videos brought me joy for the last couple of years. Thank you so much. I really appreciate those kind words. Thank you so much. I'm glad I can bring the world to you. Which place would you love to return to, says Cindy. Cindy, I'm glad you asked. Another reason I am inside and not outside right now is because I just booked plans to go back to a city I love dearly. And I cannot wait to make short videos of its history once again. They're going to be epic. Some of the stories are going to be stories I've covered before, but what I love about what I do is that I realize there's fun, there's joy in covering history and stories time and time again. A lot of YouTubers, a lot of content creators can get stuck in the hamster wheel of always searching for novelty. But I think there's a beauty of going to the same city over and over again, and there's a beauty of covering the same history over and over again. Because every time I cover it, there's something new. I cover it in a slightly different way, and it's more exciting. So we're going to revisit some old favorites very soon. Very, very soon. So it's going to be really fun. So I'm not going to answer that question because it'll reveal where I will be going. Will you cover Detroit in the future? I did cover Detroit very briefly back in January of this year. I loved it. Detroit was actually really awesome. I went when it was extremely cold, 9 degrees Fahrenheit. So I didn't get to explore that much, but I got to see the Michigan Central Station, and it was just a joy. Wendy says, how do I get your job? It's a good question. It's hard. Everyone wants my job. Everyone wants to be a content creator nowadays. Everyone wants to be a content creator. Olivia says, is this a bot stream? No, this is a real live stream. I'm real. You're real. We're all real, I hope. Or is this all a simulation? I don't know. But, yeah. Everyone wants to be a content creator. You know, like if you're below the age of like 26, I've noticed a lot of people want to do what I'm doing, but they want to do it for the wrong reasons. They want to get famous, get free stuff, get paid a lot of money, and be able to say, I have a huge following. And they might want to use that for dating, for showing off to their friends, for getting invited to things that most people would not get invited to. So there's a lot of people chasing content creation for those wrong reasons. And to me, it's rather dismaying, because I think the best that one can give to the world has to come out of a genuine wanting to give something to someone else. By focusing about what I want to get, what I want to achieve, what I want for me, what I want the world to do for me, what I deserve, quote unquote, is a recipe, I think, for disaster. At the very least, you'll get lost. At the very best case scenario, you'll get all that you wanted. You'll get the fame, you'll get the money, you'll get the recognition, you might get the awards, but then you'll feel empty. You'll be asking yourself, and now what? Because the joy of what I do doesn't come from all these other externalities. It comes from doing it. Literally being outside, going to a landmark, and turning on the camera, pressing record, and just talking, and just telling you the story. Bare minimum, that's the joy I get. And for a long time, I published and got for edited videos a few hundred views, a few thousand views. But I kept going at it, and then it grew and grew, because people feel that genuine joy of sharing what they love. People can feel that through the camera, through video, through a story. They can feel that. And I think this applies to basically any job out there. But nowadays, a lot of people want to go for content creation because it seems like the easy thing, the popular thing, the novel thing to chase. Like people tried to be rock stars a few decades ago, or people tried to be the star basketball player, star athlete, also a few decades ago. People are now chasing this. And the glamour of content creation is also misleading, because it's not all glamorous. I mean, if you're doing it well, and if you're doing it out of a genuine love of sharing your passion, your joys, your curiosity, or whatever you're sharing. It could be style, it could be beauty, it could be adventures, it could be biking, it could be gardening, it could be knitting, it could be literally anything. But if you're sharing something you truly deeply love, it's not as glamorous as people think it is. I'm still a dude sitting at a cafe for hours on end researching a video. I'm still sending emails, trying to get paid by a new sponsor so I can continue making videos, so I can continue affording to be able to travel and show you different places. I'm still needing to figure out the business aspects of what I do. I still there's still struggles ever so often with tech. You know, tech fails sometimes. I have to troubleshoot. There's sometimes moments of like, I don't know what to cover next. I am a little bit uninspired. And moments of kind of being stuck. All that is not glamorous. It's not glamorous at all. So that's the real part of the job. But all that is beautiful because I love it. So how do you get this job? You gotta love it. You gotta love pressing record on a camera and filming yourself or filming something and posting it online. That simple. If you love it, it'll take you to beautiful places. If you don't, or doing it for the wrong reasons, some challenges are going to come your way that are not going to be so fun, I think. When you get stuck, what do you do to move forward? Cindy, I do nothing. It is literally just either do nothing, like don't schedule anything. I don't try to research anything. I don't try to travel anywhere. Sometimes it just requires doing nothing, really, to get unstuck, to find inspiration. Other times it requires doing something that seemingly seems unproductive. For example, a few months ago, back in June, I was trying to research a video to make, and I just felt like really like I was procrastinating. I felt very kind of frustrated about the topic I was researching. I forgot the topic at this point, but it was some topic that I was just like, it just felt like I felt very sluggish trying to research this. And I remember thinking, I just want to walk. I don't even want to walk anywhere in particular. I just want to walk. So I dropped everything I was doing and I walked and walked and walked and walked. And then about 2 hours into walking, I get an idea. I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe I should cover the story about the dead bodies under Washington Square Park. It just popped into my head. I covered this story before, but I realized, oh, maybe I could do even better research this time around. And lo and behold, I researched that story. It came to me very quickly. I filmed the next day, and that video went viral. So sometimes it just takes doing something that seemingly does not seem productive, but just seems like something you want to do. Sometimes you gotta just do what you want to do and not really think about it too much. Will you shave your beard on camera? Says Out and About. I'm not sure how entertaining that would be. Maybe if I'll do this if I ever get sponsored by a shaving company, then maybe I would. That would be fun. And it would be educational too, because there's a lot of history in terms of beards and hair trimming. Lori says, great to see you, Ariel. Hey. Do you have any book recommendations on New York City? I have a lot of them, but the biggest one is Bowery Boys, Adventures in Old New York. Bowery Boys, Bowery. If someone could write the recommendation, I would be so grateful. Another one is Manhattan's Little Secrets. And there's also Secret New York and Secret Brooklyn. Mike also makes a very great recommendation that I agree with. The WPA Guide to New York City is really good. So those are my recommendations. If people could write them down, I'll be so appreciative. What's your favorite meal lately, says Camilla. Smash burgers. I love smash burgers. 7th Street Burger is probably one of the best burgers I've ever had in my life. Really good. All right. Ooh, we got so many people. Some get personal, airing out too much drama. Yeah, some content creators get a little bit too stuck in the drama. You know, there's no time in life for drama. You know, I like the drama in history. I like the drama in when I cover urbanism and architecture. But when it comes to personal life, I luckily have very little drama in my personal life. But if there is, I don't think this is something ever that has to be shared with people. I don't get this obsession with audiences loving to see the drama unfold of someone else's life. You know, some influencer. Do you read any poetry? Not so much, Camilla. Rare times I do. I really like Rumi. Khalil Gibran is my favorite poet. I love the book The Prophet. It's one of the few books of poetry I read. And I think another book of poetry that I really love is Howl by Allen Ginsberg. Mike says, yeah, you're good about creating content, but not being annoying. I appreciate that. What's your view on LGBT rights? Personally, I don't care what you do in your bedroom or how you express your love in public. It's none of my own concern. So in terms of rights, yeah, everyone should be able to express love to whomever they would want, both privately and in public. But not every culture is the same, so not every culture adheres to that. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Do you enjoy cooking? I do. I haven't been doing it much lately, but I do. Laura Rain, thank you so much for tuning in. What's the most interesting fact you've come across in New York City lately? Was mostly due to urbanism. It's there's going to be 2 more podcast episodes are left to be published from season 1 of The Perfect City. So right now, go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you listen to podcasts and add The Perfect City. The Perfect City. And this is a podcast I started with my friend, Dr. T. Panova, who's a psychologist that has an expertise in urbanism. And we discuss topics about urbanism, about how we can build the perfect city. What does it take to build the perfect city? And one of the most mind-blowing facts was that New York City massively downzoned in 1961. So New York City was growing very rapidly through the 1930s and 40s until it was hamstringed by 1961 due to fears that New York City would become too dense. The projections at that time were that New York City, if left unregulated, would grow to housing 70 million people. So New York City passed citywide zoning regulations that limited the height of buildings across the entire city, to the point where many buildings that were already pre-existing were above the regulated height limit. So if the building collapsed for some reason and the landowner wanted to rebuild, they couldn't rebuild to the original height of the building. And this is the case all throughout New York, from neighborhoods that usually only have 1 to 2 story homes, which is a big chunk of the city, to neighborhoods that have like 7, 8 story homes or 12 story homes, like in Upper West Side, Upper East Side. There's a height limit all across. That's the most mind-blowing fact. Will you write a biography of Robert Moses? I think there's already a very in-depth biography of Robert Moses, and that is called The Power Broker. I would not write a biography of Robert Moses, but I would love to make a movie or a Netflix series, HBO series, about Robert Moses. I think that would be so epic. I would direct a Robert Moses series in the same style as White Lotus. Like, I would make it very thrilling, very exciting. Chill Vibes says, I skipped your question. Oh no, Chill Vibes. I'm going back to your question. Is urban planning more about community engagement and civics? Because that's rarely talked about. I disagree, actually, Chill Vibes. I appreciate the question. The reason I even decided to make a podcast about urbanism, and the reason I'm even making more videos about urbanism, is because I think too many urbanism content creators out there, a lot of YouTubers, a few Instagrammers and TikTokers, but definitely in the YouTube side, is too focused on community engagement, on neighborhood level urbanism, which is about building more bike lanes, about building better sidewalks, about building more parks. Usually that's what most of these videos center on. I disagree. I think while that aspect of building better and smarter through your local community is a worthy endeavor, I think the biggest changes will happen not just citywide, but nationwide. I think we need an initiative on the scale of the interstate highway project of the 1950s to rebuild and to better densify cities all across America with federal subsidies, with massive incentives across a lot of cities across our 50 states. In my opinion, there is no reason. I think it's detrimental to the United States of America that we only have about 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, maybe 10 big cities in America, like major metropolitan centers that people want to move to. I think it's a rather absurd. I think for 50 whole states of America, we need about like 20 to 30 more. Definitely more than one city per state that should be large, walkable, with robust public transportation, and also a place that has plenty of housing to offer new residents. And that is why I think we have to look beyond the bike lanes. It's not just bikes. We have to look to the bigger picture. How can we redesign America? And this applies to many other countries. This applies to Canada, this applies to Australia, this applies to even England. I think we can do way bigger efforts in beautifying and densifying our urban centers. A Out and About says, there are too many channels that make content that doesn't match their channel name. Example, explore, and they don't really explore. Yeah, I can imagine. I call myself Urbanist, and I cover a lot of cities, so yeah. Danny, let me see your question. Let's find your question, Danny. 94 Kinks says, Batman or Superman? I'm more of a Batman fan, but they're both awesome. Will you ever do a bike tour with Dutch Moz? Yes, I would. I still have been meaning to do so. Danny says, would you consider coming back to Lincoln for a Husker football game? I would love that, actually. I really had good feelings with Lincoln, Nebraska, and I would love to go back to Nebraska in general. If you could interview one historical person from New York City, who would it be and why? I think it would be Robert Moses. I would love to interview Robert Moses. He's a complicated man. But he definitely was a big thinker, a visionary. I don't agree with his vision. I don't agree with his ideals of urbanism. But he was a big thinker. He definitely knew how to work the game. Not just with the city, but even having the ear of multiple presidents. So he's a fascinating historical figure. Ariel, which country would you live in choosing from your travels? Athens for sure. Edinburgh, Scotland would be a quick second. Paris, third. Yeah, those three cities. Athens, because I just really connect with the people. I really connect with the culture. I think Athens is so lively. I love the food. I love the Greek people. Just love them. Edinburgh, just because it's such a lovely place. The Scots are also wonderful people. And it's just a lovely city. It's a great example of a city that's not too big, but just so vibrant and so many things to do. So many beautiful cafes, great pubs, great atmosphere. And then a third one would be Paris, just because Paris is just Paris. Have I been to Los Angeles? Yes, I've been to Los Angeles. Search Los Angeles Urbanist. I haven't done too many videos on LA yet, but I do want to go back. And I do want to do more short videos on Los Angeles because it is a fascinating city. And I think Los Angeles can become the Paris of the US. Just by doing a few changes in its zoning, it could become as beautiful and as dense and as vibrant as Paris. I think so. Because this is what blew me away from Los Angeles. Los Angeles basically is Paris without the density. And still, LA is more dense as a whole compared to the New York metropolitan area, which is kind of crazy to think about. But LA basically has these wide streets, wide boulevards, and a lot of buildings are 4 or 5 stories tall, but they're still kind of spread out. And then there's right next to a 5-story building, there's apartment building, there's a 1-2 story house. And this is what I don't like about LA. Right now, it's not really walkable. But if you add light rail, if you add a robust metro system, and definitely revitalize the downtown, and then allow all the main area of LA to densify, and uniformly speaking, about 7 stories, 8 stories, just across a massive part of the city, LA could become a gem of a city, in my opinion. Have I been to San Bernardino? No, I'm not. How do we fight against the stigma of using public transportation? It's a stigma very deeply ingrained in American culture. And it makes it hard as a content creator because I make videos about praising public transportation, praising density, and definitely covering people who are working hard at densifying our cities in smart ways. And I get a lot of hate for it. The comments are very mean. Very mean. That's the nature of making content online. That's the nature of covering a topic that's controversial. I find it kind of absurd that talking about building cities that are walkable is controversial. To me, that blows my mind, but that is the case. How do we change that? I think just kind of sticking to your guns. You know, in America, we stick to our guns. And I think if we do it with our Second Amendment, we have to do it also with our sidewalks and with our public transportation. We have to continue showing people the beauty, the ease, and the opportunity for massive productivity by having good public transportation. What are city leaders resistant to making those changes? Why are they resistant? Simply put, they're resistant because a lot of people in America are very attached to cars and to a life with cars because that's the only thing they know. A lot of people can't really grasp why and how can you live without a car. And it's due to just life being normalized across a massive portion of the US that requires a car to even do anything and everything. It requires a car to go out to the grocery store. It requires a car to go out to a park or to hike. It requires a car to grab a quick bite to eat. It requires a car to go to school, to leave your kid in daycare, to go to the doctor, to have a drink with friends, to go to a cafe. The list goes on. And I don't blame anyone for not being able to see life, to conceive of life without the car. And to conceive that life without the car is not just a phenomenon that happens in historic cities in Europe, but it is how cities have existed for thousands of years. Since the very first construction of cities 5,000 years ago in ancient Sumeria, to the ancient cities of Rome and Greece, to ancient Londinium that later became London, to medieval Paris. It's normal to live in a city that everything is dense, that you can walk. So how do you convince that from people? You gotta show them the beauty of walking. It's tough. It's tough. I don't know the answers. I'm trying to figure it out myself. Will you have a destination wedding? Would I have a destination wedding, personally? Probably not. I would have a honeymoon. I wouldn't have a destination wedding, though. Benoit says, I'm 47 years old and I never had a car, but I'm European. Yes, many Europeans, it's like normal to talk about public transportation, walkability, density. It's just fairly normal across many parts of Europe. But it's a very hard concept to talk about in America due to the fact that people just are not used to it. They haven't experienced it. They might have experienced it once or twice or three times in their life by going to New York or to a European city, but that's that. And then there's a lot of media that propagates the beliefs that public transportation is for poor people, only for poor people. Not the case. People of all income levels use public transportation across many European cities. There's the misconception that public transportation is inherently bad. Not the case. A lot of European countries, very efficient. There's also the misconception that public transportation limits freedom. This one is very emotional, naturally so, because naturally in American culture we don't want to be dependent on government for anything, but it's a fallacy because car owners are dependent on a car, on car infrastructure, on paying for car insurance, on cops regulating car traffic and traffic rules and enforcing those traffic laws. The government has a lot of power and also oversight into life with a car, as much as it does with public transportation. So this sense that we are free because we own cars is a fallacy, in my opinion. It's not really based in the reality, because you need a government to maintain a road. You need a government to maintain road and highway infrastructure. You need a government to maintain traffic laws so people are just not crashing into each other. You need a government to subsidize hospitals when people get injured when the car crash happens. We need insurance companies. Cars are not freedom. We just think they are. Trains aren't freedom either. We just think, some people idealize thinking they are. They're not. But this concept of freedom, I think freedom is more important when you can have a community, when you can go to a cafe and chat with a friend spontaneously. Freedom is going out at any time for a drink, for a concert, for a bite to eat. Freedom is not thinking about parking, in my opinion. Freedom is not worrying about what time you have to take a bus or a train. Freedom is not needing to spend thousands of dollars annually on a vehicle. Chill Vibe says it's mobility freedom. I think the true mobility freedom comes from great density and great public transportation. I felt more free in Europe than I ever did in America in terms of mobility. In Europe, I can get anywhere, most places, without the use of a car. I can get to a 12,700 foot mountain. I can get to the forests of Poland. I can get to the beach sides of the Amalfi Coast. I can get to the mountains of northern Italy. I can get to multiple different cities in one day, in the Netherlands, in Germany, in France, in England. There's so much beauty when it comes to not being dependent on a car. And this applies to people who are not able-bodied either. Especially if public transportation is built with great accessibility, which is the case in many European places. If you are dependent on a wheelchair or crutches or some type of aid to walk, you have much more freedom to explore by having a dense city with good public transportation. A car is very tricky when you are not able-bodied, especially for people in more serious circumstances. And if you do require some type of vehicle because you have very bad mobility issues, the Netherlands and other cities do this so well. They have these tiny little vehicles that are completely designed for easy wheelchair accessibility. They're small. There's one-person vehicles, and you can use the bike lanes to get around. That is, from what I have observed, seems way more free than having to get into a multi-ton hunk of metal, drive into massive roadways, get onto a highway to even have a burger. But life is all about choices. Our governments are all about choices. We can choose this. We can choose not to have it. That's okay. That's all good. But as a free citizen here in America, I will be more than happy to continue spreading my perception and my observations about the benefits of dense cities and public transportation. It's a free country, so I'm going to continue talking about it. Some people think by talking about it is detrimental. Well, it's a free country. We can talk about anything, as long as we're not harming anyone. Would you ever visit the Canadian Rocky Mountains like Banff? I would be curious. I'm not really, nature is not always the top of mind, but I would be curious to go to Banff. PowerPoint says, however, taxing car owners and how they drive isn't freedom either. But car infrastructure is all subsidized by the government. So car ridership was never free. The taxes are just a way to pay for it. Just like bridge tolls or like highway tolls. They pay for the highway. So the sense that if there's a fee incurred because you're driving or you're parking is an infringement on your rights, I think is also a fallacy, because roads, road maintenance, the enforcement of traffic laws, and also bridges and tunnels, and also parking, they're not free. They're subsidized by the government, by the federal government, state governments, and city governments. They all subsidize, in some parts, car infrastructure, just like they would trains. So people wouldn't complain about fare on a train or fare on a bus. But people do complain when there is a toll to drive on a road, when there's a toll to drive in a very dense city that is much more expensive to maintain road infrastructure due to the amount of cars passing through on a daily basis in combination with its density. People think it's an infringement on rights when that isn't the case. It's just you gotta pay. Vivera says, what's your background? Love the content. I have a bachelor's in electrical engineering. I never really worked as an electrical engineer. I went directly into media. And I've been working in media pretty much for 15 years at this point. The gas tax is very high in Washington State, and the cost is crazy. Yeah, because cars are very expensive endeavors. It's that the part of the fallacy of car ownership is that we think cars are cheap. Cars aren't cheap. It's just that they've been heavily subsidized by the government. The interstate highway project was all built by the federal government. And then later on, cities started expanding on it. But it's very expensive to even own a car. It's very expensive on the atmosphere. It's very expensive on our roads, because roads are always constantly friction on a car. You can make a car out of the car could be electric, but there's still friction on the road all day, every day. And cars in America are very heavy, so that adds to the costs. It's just those costs have been subsidized for decades due to the benefit of having a car automotive industry here in the US that brought in a lot of money to our country. I can see why cars and car infrastructure expanded in the 1940s and 50s and 60s. But the costs are getting so high that many cities, many suburbs are going broke. The highway, the US is not can't keep up with the maintenance of our car infrastructure. Bridges and tunnels are deteriorating. Some of them are becoming highly dangerous to drive over because they're expensive. they're more expensive than public transportation. In the greater scheme of things, if you're able to densify a city in a smart way and have density and have public transportation in that city, if you rung up the costs, the total costs, it would be cheaper, especially in the long term, as opposed to car infrastructure. It's just we think it's free because we've been used to the government footing the bill. But that is very quickly becoming evident that soon we would have to foot the bill. And it's not going to be a very pretty bill. So what happens? It's a bit of a crossroads we're in. And one can scream all they want, cars are our right. But who's going to pay for it? So... Hey, Riviera says, very interesting. I appreciate all the lessons. Susie says, can we talk about politics? No. Who's your choice for mayor? No, we're not going to talk about politics. We're not going to talk about politics, Straight Out Queen says, your urban series is very enlightening. Enjoyable and made me want to take a harder look at traveling recently. Oh, man, I'm so glad to hear that. Wow, Don left a long comment. Don, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I'm glad you end up using buses a little bit more. What was the most unexpected urban story you discovered in New York? The downzoning of New York City in 1961 was the biggest one. Air rights as well, which I covered recently. I can't drive, so if I want to get around, buses and trains is how I get to where I want to be. Yes, Cindy, yes, I agree. All right, wow, we had a long conversation so far. Oh my God, I'm happy to see you, says Saidu. Me too, Saidu. Hope you're doing well. Wow, we got a lot of OG urbanists tuning in. I do agree, our country's addicted to too much oil and vehicle transportation, says PowerPoint. Yeah, also the oil industry is heavily subsidized by the U.S. government. So, yeah, it's economics. It's just people just don't want to confront the economics. People rather talk, and understandably so, talk about ideals and freedoms and rights and yeah, they rather talk about freedoms, rights, and ideals. But rarely does anyone want to talk about the economic reality, which doesn't always match up with our ideals, which are perceptions of freedom. You can be so free, but very broke. There's definitely a discussion to always be had when it comes to freedom, to rights, to a limitation on governmental power, or limitation on the power of any individual or any body of government or any institution, for sure. But in tandem, we need to discuss the economics, the money, the resources that are needed to maintain any system, any quality of life that we have. It's life. And some people think that money can be gone. It could be taken out of the equation. People think, we should live in this. We should live in a society where money is not an issue, where we don't need to do business. Everything has a cost, whether you like it or not. Sure, there might be some future ahead that may make those costs irrelevant. A lot of costs have been made irrelevant, definitely in the past century, but there's still costs. There's costs in human time, human effort, human strength, and creativity, and research and development. There's costs in all of that. None of that is free. None of that can be rallied up as a altruistic effort upon an entire society. Everyone would want at some level to be paid or to be properly compensated for their effort. Maybe time and energy, maybe the amount of willpower and strength. People still need to lift heavy things. People still need to go to very high places or to very deep places. People still need to use their hands to run our world. People still need to use our brains. And they're not unlimited supply, no matter how much AI we have. We still have to think critically, creatively. And that is at a limited capacity. We are not unlimited in this nature of thinking creatively. I have limited time to make these videos. I have a limited capacity to make these videos. Can I make more? Yeah. Can I make less? Yeah. But can I make a lot more? There's a limit. There's an upper limit with my capacity to make videos. There's an upper limit to an electrician's capacity to fix electrical wires. There's an upper limit to a researcher in medicine, to how much they can research. There's a limit to the amount of a water engineer has to study how to maintain water supply. There's a limit. And even though that we have tools, power tools, we have robots to build and manufacture, we have 3D printing, and we have AI. Even though we have these tools, there's still limits. The limits are increasing, for sure, but we still have limits. And it's a fallacy to think that there are no limits. And that's why there inherently is money. Money and costs and salaries are a way to account for the time and effort that any individual puts into any endeavor. And sure, there's inequities, and sure, there's people who make a lot of money for doing very little, and sure, there's a lot of people who make very little money for doing a lot. It's not a perfect system, but money exists for this very reason, because we have limited time, and limited amount of effort that we can input into any activity, any endeavor. And hence money is a way to calculate how one gets paid, how one gets compensated for said time and effort. And that's that. And that's why when talking about a topic like cars, public transportation, cities, we have to go beyond the flowery talk of, oh, this is a right. Oh, this should be nice to have. Oh, all humans deserve this. And we should definitely not entertain political beliefs that all are based on this flowery talk. Because if we do, we will come crashing into the economic reality. And this has happened time and time again in history. It will happen time and time again. So the economics of anything is very important, and we cannot be ignoring any of it to have a good conversation. And we also have to be able to converse. We can't let emotions get in the way of having a good, rational, logical conversation about how to run our world, how about to run our cities. Because if we do, then we will never get anything done. Hey, Lizette says, thank you so much for your videos and highlighting all the wonderful things in New York. I love watching you from Puerto Rico. I miss New York no matter how bad things are in New York. Susie, I'm reading your comment. I think you should listen to what I've been saying. So I'm so happy you enjoy my videos. YouTube isn't free. You need to pay for an internet bill to access this. Yeah, YouTube isn't free. Yeah. I gotta pay for my phone. I gotta pay for data. I gotta pay for this microphone. I gotta spend time researching and editing and writing. It isn't free. Is Bushwick Susie with us today? Says Christos. Yes, she's watching on YouTube. Bushwick Susie is alive. I was very scared that God forbid something happened to Bushwick Susie, but she's here, alive and well. I'm so happy to hear that. Is the Brooklyn Bridge one of them that's in terrible disrepair? Yes, the Brooklyn Bridge, they spend, I think, tens of millions per year to even repair it. The Manhattan Bridge is even more expensive. Very appreciate your video, says Rivera. I like your insight. Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you do. Oh, Susie says you do videos with other politicians. Thought I'd ask. Yeah, I end up actually coming to this realization pretty recently. So far, only twice have I covered a politician running for something. But I realized my channel isn't for that. There might be some instances where I really, really like if an individual's really pushing something that I agree with in terms of cities or some type of historical preservation or something like that, then I may cover them. But in general, I am happy to cover someone who's in office because they're currently working at their job. But I generally avoid covering someone who's running for a position. Because this is not a show about politics, but it's a show about urbanism and history and the intersection between those two. And definitely people who are in office have a lot of value to offer of different political parties. Have a lot of value to offer in terms of to understand how something runs, how a city runs in certain regards, the history of a particular portion of our city. So yeah, that's why I do cover people who are in elected office. But I am not so keen to cover someone who's running for elected office. That's for other content creators or news organizations to do. Hound says, yes, I'll circle back to the Urbanist. Nice to hear you having a session on the Sunday evening. Yes, thank you so much for watching. How do we deal with NIMBYs? Chill, it's basically what I talked about. It's really confronting people with the economic realities of what they are espousing. Everything has an economic reality. Everything has a trade-off. Everything has a cost. I think ultimately what's important to discuss is what is more cost efficient and beneficial to a greater amount of people in the long term. And many NIMBYs, people who say not in my backyard, that's what NIMBY stands for, need to realize, need to be educated, taught, informed, that their opposition to certain developments is causing friction to providing many benefits to more people. So it's not really I don't mean educational in a patronizing way. You know, not everyone's going to be read about the economics of urbanism. Not everyone's going to really care how zoning works. And that's more than understandable. Not everyone needs to really know that. But definitely if you are a homeowner, a landowner, and you are opposing some type of development, some type of change in city infrastructure because you think it will destroy something about your neighborhood, or it will increase your property taxes, or decrease your property values, I think it's important to illuminate people on how that might not be the case. People are free to make their decisions. We have landowning rights for good reason in this country, and that I don't believe that should be taken away. I disagree with anyone who thinks that should be taken away, but definitely I think it's important if someone's willing to listen, to inform them of a different way of looking at it, or a deeper way of looking at it. So how do you work against NIMBYism? It's through education, I think. It's through education. Education is very important. That's why I make educational videos. It's very important. If people are more well-informed, they can make better decisions. You know, not everything is about the intellect, but we naturally, as humans, it's just normal that we get caught up in emotions. And usually there's negative emotions that bring us down and cloud our judgment, and cloud how we make decisions, and cloud how we view the world. And sometimes these emotions can become into policy, they can become into political movements, they can turn into revolutions, or they can turn into pure anarchy. And I think one way to move beyond the emotions that weigh us down is to think through them, think it through, to rationalize, to apply logic, and to apply reasoning to concepts about the world that might not make so much sense, and hence we have strong emotions attached to them. And people, you know, there's always going to be people out there who are afraid of learning. You know, it kind of attacks their sense of safety, because in some skewed sense it's safer to not learn, to not confront the economic realities, to not confront the history of things. Because as the age-old saying it goes, ignorance is bliss. It's bliss until reality hits you in the face. Yeah, I think that's the way. Education is very important. What's your thoughts on Canadian cities? I like Toronto. I like Montreal. I haven't been to many others. Quebec City was gorgeous. I haven't covered it yet. Wendy says, no politics, but would vote for you if you ran for president. I appreciate that. Thank you. Every stream walking across the George Washington Bridge doesn't seem so pleasant. My friend Action Kid has done so, but doesn't seem so pleasant. All right, everyone. So feel free to ask me any last remaining questions. I'll stick around for 5 more minutes. It's been such a wonderful chat. Let me know, what places would you like me to cover? Stay tuned. You're going to see, let me count the destinations I'm going to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to see 6 new places on my channel before 2026 on short videos, and definitely for 3 of those places you'll see at least 1 live video, if not all of them. So 6 new places you're going to learn about, at least 6. So stay tuned. One of them is not Europe or North America. It's going to be somewhere else. One of them is going to be an old favorite. 3 of them is going to be America. Places in America, to continue my series of Ariel in America. And then the other one is going to be a really unique European destination that I haven't been to yet, that I'm so excited to cover. It's going to be really epic history. Can you show us the label of the wine? Yes. Let's right here. There we go. Pasos de Brujas. When are you going to Armenia? Ooh, I don't know too much about Armenia. I hope it's safe there. I know Armenia had a lot of issues in the past, but maybe one day soon. What is the wine you're drinking? Yes, white wine from Spain. Is it Siberia, says Susie. No Russia. No. I'm not really keen on going to Russia anytime soon. Patterson, New Jersey would be awesome to learn about. Yeah, Patterson, New Jersey would be awesome to learn about. Yeah, stay tuned. PowerPoint says your friend Action Kid did Seoul, South Korea. Oh yeah, Action Kid has been all around Asia. I really commend him because he was in New York City for quite a while, and I remember talking to him about travel. And aside from Taipei, he was a bit hesitant when I had a chat with him about travel. I'm glad he's branched out. I'm so happy to hear that. Is the wine delicious? Let's see. It's sweeter than I would like, but still really good. Thank you so much for tuning in, Wendy. Ida is tuning in, says, glad the videos you keep on visiting. Thank you so much for watching. Stay well and good night. Oh, Ida, I'm so happy you and your grandchildren enjoy my videos. You have to try Prosecco. I love Prosecco, especially when it's in an Aperol Spritz. Am I going to Antarctica, asked Wendy. I would love to go to Antarctica at some point. That is not in the plans yet. Will you be traveling upstate? Maybe. I do want to see the beautiful fall colors. So if anyone has recommendations of where to go to in upstate New York, do let me know. Which country has the biggest wealth divide that you've experienced? Asked Cindy. I've been lucky to visit pretty calm countries, politically speaking. Not only lucky, I've done it intentionally. I like traveling in peace. So I'm not ever been really an adventurous traveler trying to go to places that have political upheaval. But in terms of the biggest political divide, you gotta know this with context. I've been to North America and Europe. So I haven't been all across the world. It's been Mexico has been the number one. That's where you see the biggest political divide. There's beautiful areas, like in Mexico City specifically. There's gorgeous neighborhoods. They're just so pleasant, beautiful businesses, wonderful urban environment, it's pretty safe. And then you have other places that are just really, really not pleasant and dangerous. And it kind of sucks. It sucks because Mexico is such a wonderful culture. There's a lot of beautiful parts about Mexican culture. There's great food. It's great history. I hope Mexico gets better because it's a country with so much wonderful potential. And I say that word very precisely. Potential. I think Mexico has a lot more to offer, and I hope it offers it soon. I hope Mexico heals itself from the violence of cartels. I hope Mexico makes running a business easier for any type of resident of any income. I hope more people invest in Mexico. Mexico is such a gorgeous country. Out of all the countries in the world, there's Greece, Ireland, and Mexico that got most along with its people. And that's why it pains me to have seen that inequities in wealth, but I know Mexico will do better. I have a very good feeling about it. That said, I haven't really been to many other places. Ironically, US is number 2. Sorry to laugh. It does suck, but yeah, US is number 2. Compared to Europe, I see more poverty here and more mental illness and more differences in neighborhood aesthetics than I see in many parts of Europe. Very wise to be careful about travel, says Lori, to the Middle East. Yeah, it's a shame that there's some beautiful places on Earth that have so much issues, politically speaking, issues in wealth, in food, and in politics. It's a shame, but that's hopefully things will get better in many of these places. And historically speaking, many places have gotten better. So there's definitely things to look forward to in many parts of the world. I'm sure many parts in the world that used to be in bad circumstances will become more and more pleasant in the next few years. So that is 9 years. 9 years. Yes. Cheers, everyone. 9 years. I wasn't outside today, but I will be outside soon. Stay tuned. In October, I'll be showing you, or late September, I'll be showing you some really cool place that will blow you away. It's going to be awesome. I think it's going to be one of the more fun live videos I have done recently. I showed you Dubrovnik. You're going to see something as mind-blowing. So stay tuned for that. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate each and every one of you that have commented, watched, enjoyed my videos in so many ways. It's an immense pleasure to have a kind and caring and joyful and curious audience. Like, I wouldn't take it back for the world. And I'm grateful for you for tuning in and for being such an awesome audience. It's the best that anyone who is making videos, making any form of entertainment can ask for. So thank you so much everyone for tuning in. Many more places to come very soon. Stay curious, my friends. Have a great day. Bye-bye.